Hi, I would like to welcome you to our series of webinars where we will be conversing with various founders and stakeholders of the business world. Today, we have with us Mr. Gaurav Vij, the co-founder of Qblocks, a steadily growing AI and blockchain technology-based startup based in Canada and spreading its wings throughout the world. This webinar will be a series of questions and answers where we will be trying to have a candid conversation with Mr. Gaurav and getting his inputs about this glowing and booming industry. And definitely his inputs will be appreciated by budding entrepreneurs and tech enthusiasts alike. So, Mr. Gaurav, could you please provide us a brief background of yourself and how you came up with the idea of Qblocks?
Hi, Shashwat. First of all, thank you for the brief introduction. And yeah, just I would love to walk you through the journey of how we came about building this company, working on this idea. So let me take you on a journey which started around 2 decades back. So today we see clouds like AWS, G Cloud, Azure, which offer on-demand computing at scale. But around 20 years back, there was nothing like that. Scientific research organizations born out of universities like Stanford and organizations like CERN, Fermi, these type of organizations and universities were working on massive scientific projects, which required a lot of computing to crunch their data. One of the examples is CERN, the biggest, you can say, scientific organization for particle physics in the world, the place where Higgs boson was discovered and internet was invented by Sir Tim Berners-Lee over there. They were smashing millions of particles. And when you smash such amount of particles, there's a lot of data that is created. And you need to simulate, process that data, and then crunch that data into meaningful outcome. So they required a lot of computing at that time, and they didn't have enough, you can say, server capacity because there was no cloud to scale up and down on demand. At that time, the only option was to just scale up the server farms, like adding more servers after servers and investing billions of dollars. Now, every scientific organization has a threshold after which they cannot invest beyond a point. And so they were trying to figure out a solution to this problem, that how could they minimize their computing costs while maximizing their capabilities to operate on their research data. So they figured out a pretty crazy idea at that time. The idea was this, that there are millions of idle laptops sitting across the world. People have laptops which are 50 to 60% of the day idle. How about we consume 1 or 2 CPU cores out of them for our computational jobs, and people could contribute in a novel way for the scientific research. So with this idea, they started building a distributed computing application. It was initially built by students and professors from Stanford and Berkeley. It was called as BOINC, Berkeley Open Infrastructure Network for Computing. And that application, in a way, helped these scientific organizations abstract computing from these idle laptops and compute large, massive simulations and workloads at scale. So millions of people joined these networks and contributed computing from their idle laptops. So that's how they, in a way, became one of the biggest supercomputers at a time without investing billions of dollars into physical infrastructure. So this was a massive, you can say, idea, very fascinating idea. And my brother and today co-founder Saurabh came across this fascinating technology while he was a nuclear scientist at CERN around a decade back. And he was pretty intrigued by this phenomena of how you can utilize this idle computing and bring it to use for such a noble and useful, you can say, useful research problems. So, but this was limited to the scientific domain for the past 15 years, 20 years. And so like I mentioned, Saurabh was pretty fascinated by this and wanted to bring this to the commercial space. Like he saw the opportunity always for this technology to boom and bloom in the commercial space. Meanwhile, coming back to today's stage, uh, I was prior to Qblocks, I was a computer vision researcher, and I worked on computer vision problems around 3D 360-degree views and removing background in real-time streams. The one that you are also using right now on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
This was something similar to this research that a problem that I was working on around 5 years back, and so this entire computer vision research was around using and training and deploying deep learning models. So deep learning models are computationally intensive. They need a lot of computing power to train themselves on large data sets. And I didn't have enough computing power in my laptop, so I ended up going on a cloud platform. And over there, I used resources like GPU servers, which help us accelerate the speed of training by 10 folds or even 100 folds at times. So, but they are very costly. And while training my machine and deep learning models, I ended up spending around $1,000 to $1,500 every month for training my models.
Wow.
And this was, in a way, the biggest bottleneck for me. While training my machine learning models, I had to spend this much cost, and we were bootstrapped. So I stumbled upon this problem and was desperately searching for a solution. I didn't have any other resource, and majority of the times, what I realized is research gets halted because of capital, because you cannot invest further. And
Yes.
deep learning models require a lot of computing to improve accuracies. On when you train on more data, you are able to achieve higher accuracies because you can experiment more. More experimentation requires more computation in a way. So, in short, I was discussing this with Saurabh that I'm coming across this problem. How should I go about it? And he mentioned about his experience with distributed computing at CERN, like I mentioned prior to this. And we started
Yes.
thinking, what if we could combine these two things? Like, what if we could use distributed computing for commercial use for problems like machine learning, model training, 3D rendering, big data analytics, using idle computing capacity available in data centers and also consumer systems like crypto mining rigs and gaming workstations. Eventually, it turned out to be 60 to 80% lower cost than going on traditional cloud. This approach of extracting computing and making it available to any machine learning developer at scale helps us achieve this in a very affordable way, so that the end user doesn't have to pay this much. So it was not just my problem with the computing cost; it was the problem of the entire ML and AI community. So we started working on these lines, and that's how we came together to work on this problem.
Well, definitely, the idea which you have, it really brings about the concept of bringing social change and revolution through the involvement of other people. Like you mentioned in CERN, that they would use a lot of idle computing from a lot of people in order to increase the scientific growth and research. So definitely, what I believe that you're working on is not only something which will help bring about scientific growth and development and help improve our computing power, but will also make it a more involved sort of business where more people are going to get involved by using their underutilized resources. I hope I'm correct when I say this.
Absolutely, absolutely. The idea is exactly that there are so many idle consumer systems sitting around us throughout the day, which are just sitting idle, which are not doing anything. And how about we bring them to use? And in return, as a owner of that device, what if I could earn something? While my system, my idle laptop, my idle smartphone is computing for a scientific organization, is computing for a researcher sitting in America while I'm over here in India making some money from my idle device. So we thought of this, you can say, global play from day one, that how a researcher sitting in a different part of the world with limited capital could still bring his ideas to reality by using our computing solution instead of going on a traditional computing platform, which eventually would have just burnt a hole in their pocket. And
Definitely.
so that's how we worked on this idea and brought this to you can say mainstream.
Definitely. Could you help our listeners understand more about Qblocks and the products and services you offer to your customers? As per my knowledge, you work primarily in the blockchain field as well as provide AI based services as well. I hope you could elaborate more on this.
Absolutely. uh, in short, Qblocks is a decentralized GPU computing platform. The idea is this, that on one side we have idle computing systems coming from mini data centers, which have a lot of servers, but they are often going to waste because they don't have enough demand at their side. They have a lot of idle server capacity. These are one computing type. The other is consumer systems, which includes gaming PCs, and crypto mining rigs, which have a lot of high-end GPUs. The idea is to bring these GPU computing systems to use for machine learning researchers. So Qblocks cloud platform, it's a platform through which a machine learning researcher can access computing on these remote servers across the world at scale, on demand, and they only pay whenever they are in need of computing. They can scale up and scale down depending on their needs. They are not charged for anything which they are not consuming. So just like a traditional cloud in terms of the, you can say, the billing method, how the user is getting charged, but on the front end, and on the back end, the perspective is entirely different. We are abstracting computing from idle servers across the world while the server owners are getting paid. And overall, this approach leads to 60 to 80% cost savings for the end user. So instead of paying, let's say, $3,000 on a traditional cloud platform for a GPU server per month, I am on Qblocks, I am paying around $500. So when getting the same amount of computing power. So that's how we have tried to, in a way, democratize the access of computing and support the research cause in machine learning and artificial intelligence domain. And we will expand from here to further to more domains in upcoming time.
This is definitely a tremendous approach that you have, and I'm sure that it is the need of the hour because as we see that I was reading somewhere that a couple of years back, the computing power with like big machines was lower than the smartphone which we use today. And definitely in the coming time, we will require technology because as the world is now getting more surrounded by data, we need to have strong processors and systems which can process the data and make it easier and quicker for people to go through huge amounts of data. So definitely, I believe this is a tremendous journey which you are on. And it brings me to the question about what do you think is the future of decentralized computing and AI?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question actually, because if I can be honest, actually nobody knows how where AI is evolving towards, because it is so rapid and so massive that the evolution is so quick. Uh, if I give you like you can say quick perspective, around 2 years back, a very famous, you can say, a very famous company, OpenAI, they brought GPT-3, the biggest language model in the market. Uh, the idea was this, that how we can reduce the human labor by using an AI to write content for you. So it was text generation AI model. Today, all of the, you can say, models in AI domain are specific AI models. They are specifically trained for one task or maybe two tasks. With GPT-3, it was able to do around 15 to 20 tasks around language processing. And slowly and steadily, they have evolved GPT-3 to match and even sometimes outcompete humans at writing copies for ads, writing blogs, writing articles, and there have been businesses built on top of this. You can search online. There are businesses like Jasper AI that is using such language models. There is one more. I think I'm forgetting the name. Copy AI, Copy.ai. So all these businesses are leveraging the power of language models. The terminology for this domain is called NLP, natural language processing. The idea is to use AI models to process language tasks, whether writing copies, writing text, generating speech from text, or maybe translating speech from one language to another, and speech to text, all these type of use cases. So they started with this approach, and recently, around 5-6 months back, they brought a text to image model, so called as Dolly 2. And with that model, what they were able to do was, you can just write a text from that, a photo of astronaut riding a horse on Mars. So this is not something that is practically possible. But the idea of such a text to image model is that it can produce images which look realistic, and they are high fidelity images, pretty close to how an actual photo would look like. And this AI is able to resemble that natural feeling in those photos and generate them for us on demand, on our command. We type in some prompt and it gives us an output of an image, and this will further evolve to videos as well in coming time. Some models have even started popping up in last month or so. So what I see is, at least in the AI domain, a lot of the AI models would further evolve towards content generation, because we humans are addicted to consuming content on internet.
Yes.
So, and generating content is costly. And one way to reduce the cost is to use automated methods. And artificial intelligence can help us first generate text, then speech, images, and now on moving forward to videos. And slowly and steadily, this would evolve into much more bigger scope. Not just, you can say, the content generation part, but towards basic, you can say, data entry fields, where basic tasks where the nature of job is a little bit repetitive. So I believe that all these tasks will slowly and steadily get replaced with AI models. So these are specific AI models, and maybe when these specific task focused models are combined together in future, maybe they could create a general AI which could match, you can say, the level of human intelligence. But I don't see that right now, at least not in the next couple of years, but definitely it is possible in this decade. Who knows? And this is for the AI part. And for the decentralized computing, I believe, like, decentralized computing has changed the way we do finance. Blockchain, for example, Bitcoin was such a phenomenon in its own, that how you can transact in a trustless manner where there is no middle party involved, and you can send money across the globe without any border checkpoints or anything like that stopping you. There are definitely pros and cons that have come out with the technology, but technology is technology. People find good or bad use cases out of it. So what I feel is distributed computing started with finance, like was implemented in finance at a global scale, and we are not using blockchain, but we are implementing distributed computing, decentralized computing for commercial use cases, like I said, artificial intelligence. And I used to discuss this with Saurabh quite often. Like, he has such a great experience with distributed computing during his research days at CERN, that how what all possibilities are there. And what I've just said is just 5 to 10% of the entire scope. So
Yes.
what is possible with decentralized computing, how we can make the entire globe work for each other. One node across the globe is serving this Zoom stream, for example, for us. This is also maybe possible in coming time. So there are endless possibilities, and we are definitely moving towards that domain, that era in the next few years.
So, do you believe, like, I'm really thankful for the inputs you have given on AI and decentralized computing. How do you believe that this is going to affect the regular human lives, and including our personal lives and business? I would really like to know your input on this.
From the business you can say perspective, I have like I already mentioned that a lot of the tasks are definitely going to be replaced by AI models, which will the idea always has been optimize and reduce costs, whether it is transportation, whether it is electronics, internet consumption, content generation, content consumption, or overall always the perspective for any business has been to reduce the cost and optimize it as much as possible. And the biggest, you can say, optimization could be just making everything automated. And to automate it, because these systems are so complex, you need a robust automated system. And that robust automated system could be developed with using AI and machine learning models. And so I think the with the advent of reinforcement learning, for example, like uh, there have been a lot of cloud companies themselves who have a lot of large server farms, server data centers. They have used AI to increase their reduce their electricity costs for maintaining their server farms, in the sense that to reduce the electricity required to maintain temperature in their server farms. And they are using AI, and they are using reinforcement learning to figure out how we can optimize the entire environment around certain area. And the same is getting applied on a lot of jobs. So I believe that uh, there are a lot of, you can say, applications, like I said about text to image as well. A lot of the, you can say, content creators are panicking right now because of the way AI is evolving so quickly and is able to create such good results. And people are finding different use cases, like for example 3D asset creation for games. This is also getting done with AI. Some models have recently appeared for that domain. And so what I feel is, from the business standpoint, every business wants to optimize and reduce costs in every part
Definitely.
of their workspace. And AI would definitely get involved. So using models would become a norm and a natural usage pattern in all the businesses across the world. Almost every business, whether directly or indirectly, would be using AI models. In fact, today, if we go on internet, some websites, Google itself is the biggest, uh, you can say, developer of AI. And so when we are using Google, we are somewhere or the other using AI, in directly or indirectly. The same way. So this is for the business part. And for the you mentioned about individuals, how it is going to affect us personally. I feel that AI assistance would become a very normal thing in coming years. The idea is whether I want to, you can say, write content. Let's say I'm writing something online, and I can use an AI assistant to help me with writing. There are AI assistants for coding as well. Whether if I'm a developer, I can use AI assistant to easily help me with coding part. And so all these things would definitely become would help us in a way uh, get better experience. For example, there are some AI models that are helping people get better quality of voice while on call. If they're in on low network area, then still they can get better quality of voice from the other person over a phone call. Some companies are developing this technology as well. So there are endless use cases possible, and the idea is that how to enhance the experience for people, so that they stay always connected, so that they can self like for example self-driving cars. This would also eventually turn out to be a very massive revolution in its own when it happens. It has already started in US in some cities, in San Francisco, for example, that complete self-driving cars are on the streets. And when this happens, I believe a lot of people would be angry as well, because drivers would be replaced by self-driving cars. Uh, but the idea is that it is assistance for every other rider, that you can get cars at very low costs, and at the same time you don't have to worry about to and fro with a driver. But this is actually, I think, bound to happen with every technology, and new jobs would definitely be created, I believe. If one industry gets revolutionized, there is another industry popping up where the jobs will get created, and it's not going to be always 100% AI and 0% humans. It's always going to be a mix of both, and eventually AI assisted life is something that humans would adapt to. We all would be using AI in some form of our life to help us go through our day, and definitely there would be more jobs, I believe, that would be created in coming time for all these domains as well.
Definitely, I'm quite thankful. In fact, it reminds me of this age-old writing on LinkedIn I saw once, where somebody mentioned that when during the time computers were brought into place,
Hmm.
it was often speculated that because of the advent of computers, jobs, menial jobs or clerical jobs, they would all vanish and they would be replaced by computers. But in fact, the coming of the computer and IT technology has created so many jobs.
Yes.
And it definitely, I agree with what you were saying. And it raises a question in our mind that what activities, like we discussed so much about how things are going to change in the future and how everything is going to get revolutionized. So could you
Mhm.
just briefly provide that what activities is Qblocks undertaking to keep up with the growth in technology and especially in your field of blockchain and AI?
Yeah. So, like I gave you an example of OpenAI that brought GPT-3 in the mainstream. The idea was to make AI accessible. If you go back, let's say 5 years from 5 years back from today, the idea was this, that a lot of researchers are developing AI models, but they were not able to bring this into the mainstream. It was very difficult to bring an AI into the in the production phase. So production phase involves a lot of, you can say, server setup, a lot of scalabilities, ensuring that you can serve every request for the user at scale. And AI models require a lot of computing. Like I said, not just the training part, but if you talk about deep learning models, which are like language models, vision models, all these models are computationally intensive. So you need, majority of the times you end up going with GPU servers, and you are running them at scale, sometimes thousands, hundred thousands of them at scale. And when you are doing that, you incur a lot of computing costs. And so what we envisioned was at Qblocks to first of all democratize computing, the access of computing, which is limited because the cost is so high. You either set up your own local system or you end up going on cloud. When you set up your own local server, you cannot scale beyond a certain number of machines, because then you would have to pay a lot. The other option is to go on cloud, which gives you the flexibility and scalability. But the idea is that eventually you end up paying a lot, because there's a per minute billing which is very high. So we figured out there's a better way. There is a way through which we can consume, bring to use the idle servers, and use it, bring its access at very low cost. So this was for the computing cost, how we can reduce that and make the computing accessible. Now, to go further, what we are envisioning and working on is to make AI accessible. OpenAI is a great example for that perspective. Like I said, building a model is one thing, then running it in production is another thing. You need a whole lot of, you can say, skill set in DevOps, machine learning, ops, ML ops, and a lot of the front end, back end technologies in play to ensure that a user can interact with your AI model. Uh, and what if there could be a very easy to use API, so that any developer could integrate this AI model into their application through an API? But there have been some great use cases in the past. For example, OCR reader is one of the, you can say, very useful technologies that came very early in the industry. Now the thing is OCR is good, but it's not that, you can say, it's not a very strong deep learning model, because ultimately you are detecting some numbers in an image. For example, there have been use cases like number plate reading for an image of a car, for example, using AI model. and you can do that. And there have been APIs that enable access to this service at scale. You don't have to set up the server farms. You don't have to manage cloud infrastructure, your AI models. You just have to call an API and get the result. So this has been the model for enabling access to AI. This has always been the case that as a developer, I don't want to deal with setting up this infrastructure, setting up the AI models, training them, or like we have to frequently train our AI models to improve, to ensure that they are up to date with the latest data sets, and with different hyperparameters, experimentations keep on happening. So so that is the perspective for us, that just like OpenAI did with GPT-3, they brought a big model for 20 to 30 different use cases just through an API. The same way, we on our infrastructure platform, computing platform, we are bringing access to AI using easy to use APIs, so that any developer who wants to integrate text to image, for example, in their application could easily do so just using our APIs. They don't have to set up the text to image AI models and set up the cloud infrastructure, all those things around that. They just call our APIs and get access to them. And we first reduced the cost, and now we are bringing access to AI through these easy to use APIs. So that's how we feel that we can move this revolution further by democratizing and enabling access at scale.
Well, definitely. I believe the more technology is accessible to the masses, that is how we revolutionize and improve our day-to-day activities. Well, now we have talked a lot about technicalities. I would like to know about your experience as a startup owner, especially considering that you being from India, you decided to open up your venture in Canada. So, as a growing startup operating in Canada and planning to expand its wings globally, how has your experience been with legal compliance in Canada?
So far, it has been not that you can say difficult. It has been pretty straightforward. I believe we are somewhat lucky in that sense. So like, but there have been, you can say, some challenges on the investment side. We haven't seen such you can say investment environment, growing environment in Canada as compared to US. So just that perspective. But yeah, like so like Saurabh is based out of Canada and he's heading team from there. So it has been a great help that one of us is in the local region. Otherwise, if you are a remote founder, it would be really difficult to manage such a company while growing operations, while building teams and raising capital, and still being compliant with all the you can say legal requirements. So definitely, what I believe is like if you're going global, at least have a good counsel, or at least somebody from your team over in the local region, so that they can guide you with the best practices. Otherwise, you can miss out on any legal compliance, and it can come back with come back on you with a lot of penalties.
Definitely, definitely. And so when you when you decided to because as I can see that you're also expanding to other regions in the world as well, and because you use a decentralized form of computing, so I'm sure you must be having servers all over the globe from where you're taking power. So, what has your experience been with the global laws and compliances? If you could just briefly give us a small idea and some ideas to for other budding entrepreneurs who should take care about global laws and whatever is there in place.
If you are, let's say, from India, and you are, let's say, opening up a startup, or and like incorporating something in US, or any part of the world, I believe the restrictions have increased a lot. Recently, there have been processes like ODI through which you have to go, and definitely from the government perspective, it's good that you are going through a process, so that you have all the documents ready. You have approved that you are investing in some capital outside India, all these things. But as an budding entrepreneur, but what I feel is, as an entrepreneur, we are a different breed. We are people who want to make things. We are creators, and as a creator, you want to focus on creation. You want to focus on building products, acquiring customers, how to close funding. All these, like, entrepreneurs already running, going through 5 to 10 different battles at the same time. Now the legal compliances and all these things just adds up. One way to reduce that could be to hire a legal team from day one, but that's again a cost that you have to bear. But yeah, uh, that is something very difficult with bootstrap founders. So going global from day one is something I would say not that easy unless you have some capital in your bank to support your, you can say, compliance research. You can have a team, a legal team, who can help you with all the compliances that you need to fill out, all the taxations. Because what I've also seen is when you, let's say, are doing business in one state. For example, if you're doing in Canada, you are running your business out of Canada, and you have customers in US, India, or some other region. Different taxations could be possible on every purchase order. So there are all those now tools evolving. The best part of global economy with internet is there are great tools available today that can help you with figuring out what is your tax compliance, how much you have to pay further, and all these things. But yeah, you have to be aware of these tools while in the initial days itself. Otherwise, once you go on a path and after that you realize, okay, so I forgot, I didn't follow through this compliance, then it backfires massively. So we all as entrepreneurs should avoid that by being aware of that there are all these possibilities, and then we can take our course accordingly.
Definitely. So, is there any other suggestion which you would like to give from your experience to any budding entrepreneur, maybe who wants to enter, who especially someone who wants to enter the field of tech and grow with the upcoming growth globally in the blockchain technology field, AI field, or any other thing relating to tech?
Yeah, like what I feel is just focus on validation. This is one thing that I have realized is instead of taking, let's say, months to build a product, try to create an MVP first, validate it with some customers, some users, even if they are not paying, just get the customer love some way. Try to figure out what is the pain point. When you have customers, when you have people who are ready to buy your service, what you are bringing in the market, then I think majority of the problems would get solved automatically, because customer is the king ultimately.
Definitely.
Whatever whatever business you do, unless definitely funding is something that you as an entrepreneur we all can explore, and we should to accelerate as well. Like the focus of funding is more on acceleration, that you are acquiring funding so that you can accelerate your operations. But a lot of the times as a bootstrap entrepreneur, we need capital to even build the initial product, because not all products are just software driven. Sometimes it's
Yes.
there is capital required in acquiring customers. Sometimes it's a hard sell. uh, it all depends on the kind of product that you are bringing, and you need, what I would really say is to plan in advance how much capital you would need for such a product. If you are not sure how to go about planning this thing, then the best thing would be to talk to people who have done it in the market. Just go or reach out to them over email, and some of them would respond, maybe not all. Some of them would definitely like Saurabh has a great entrepreneurial experience prior to me, and I've learned a lot from him. Some learnings have come from my personal experience, and what I've realized is people are willing to help if you genuinely ask them. It's just that sometimes they could be occupied, and there are everyone is just going through their personal battles. So, but if you reach out to them, some people, not all, would definitely be willing to provide advice on what you should do, how you should go about it. So that is on the, you can say, how to plan. You can definitely talk
Yes.
to people and learn from them. The other is just if you have a software product, I would definitely recommend building a MVP quickly. Maybe use some technologies online. There are a lot of like infrastructure platforms have come into the picture for the same purpose, that to ease out the job of any developer or an entrepreneur, so that you can build quickly. In fact, our solution at Qblocks is also focused on that perspective, that it's not just the access of computing, but also how we deliver it, the ease of use. Or all the computing, all you can say, all the software products today are focused on making it easier as much as possible. For example, Stripe is the biggest, you can say, payment processor in the world today, and the kind of infrastructure that they have built for businesses to make it super easy to integrate payments into your business, so that you can quickly charge a customer. And so these type of tools can definitely ease out some of the pressure. But yeah, I would definitely recommend building an MVP and validating it first, so that you are sure about your path as well.
Definitely. I would really thank you for your amazing inputs. I'm sure any budding entrepreneur, listeners, and startup enthusiasts generally around the globe will definitely benefit a lot from hearing about your experience. And I can see that you have definitely gone through a lot in building Qblocks. And with the depth of understanding and knowledge you have, I'm sure that we could go hours and hours just listening to you. But considering the paucity of time, I'm sure we will have you again and again and get little quips from you and start. And we will also love to have Mr. Saurabh with us as well during our next session, so that we can definitely get some other ideas from him as well. I would really like to thank you for joining us, and I will always be indebted to you for sharing such wonderful experience with us.
No worries, Shashwat. Thank you for inviting me on this webinar. It's really great to talk to you on all these topics. And if one way or the other, if I could help any budding entrepreneur, it's just something like the karma that I would love to do.
Yes, definitely. And as you've given an idea that people can start approaching people through various platforms such as LinkedIn and other social media and get ideas. And it is, I believe, quite important for anyone willing to go. Okay, then thank you so much. Hope to see you soon on our next episodes. And I really hope that Mr. Saurav can also take out some time and join us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.